resin right here, once you make the part and it cures hard at 77 degrees room temp, you can demold it, and then you can put that part in an oven and then post cure it as long as it's supported. And if you ramp the temperature up slow enough, it's 120, 150, 175, 200. If you bring the temperature up slow enough, it won't distort if you have it supported somewhat. So that's the neat thing about that resin. They also make an HTR 212, I believe, 212, and it's a thinner viscosity resin. And I think you lose some of the high temp properties. But it's still enough for our modeling, but it gives you a lower viscosity. The other thing is they make an HTR 350, I believe. And the 350 is good up to like 375 degrees if you post cure it, which is sort of overkill, but by going to the higher temperature, sometimes it makes the parts quicker to make because you oven cook them. So you're not waiting a whole day for the parts to cure. And normally what I do on this resin, get that wire there, and there's a little box down here below the bench. You probably can't see because it's too dark. But inside there's a heat lamp, and it's lined with styrofoam, and it only gets to 125 degrees. It's not very hot. And what you're doing is just bumping up the room temp. You know, not so much. It's like an oven. You're not cooking the hell out of it, but it's one of these things where it'll speed the cure up, and it'll give you a really good initial cure quicker. I was doing. So there's a close-up of what I was trying to achieve there. And over here would be what that looks like. There's a Cosmonaut plane. That thing's been sitting there for 15 years, I bet. Goes on the plane. This is just a plug to make the part, another mold. And what it is, it's a pod. The wing will mount right here, of course. And it'll have an electric motor. And this pod here is what holds the receiver and the battery and some servos. But once you get the scoop on there, the front, it becomes indistinguishable from a wheel pant. So I'll cover that in another video, making of the mold and then making parts. The reason why I've got this out right now, this DTO81, I need to flare this fillet on this tube. Right now it's like a wheel pant, you know, where I just ran the tube through it. I need more of a smooth transition back here, like I've got up here on this stuff. So DTO81, this stuff, it looks like a really fine sand. I don't know if you can see that or not. So once you get the resin mixed up, you start pouring the filler in it. And what they do with this filler, they use it to build up fillets and molds and fairings and composites. And the neat thing about this is it doesn't contaminate the resin. It's made to hold the resin. And I believe it's a phenolic, but it's super fine. And just like microballoons and epoxy, it's an eye-opener on how much of that stuff you can pour in there before it becomes a paste. And I've even made this stuff up thick enough where it turns into a putty, where you can grab it like a ball of dough and you can mold it with your hand. So if you wanted to make a control line handle with a grip that would perfectly match your handle or hand, you could use something like this and it'd last forever because it's so hard. So this cup was almost full. Now it's starting to go down a little bit. As you can see, it's starting to turn into a thicker putty. And this isn't as light as microballoons, but it's a lot stronger. Once this gets hard, it's not crumbly. You want to sand it, you gotta take a file or some coarse sandpaper, and especially with this resin. I don't remember mixing this DTO 81 with anything other than this high temp resin. I'm sure you could use like a Z-epoxy laminating resin with it or something along that line, but and the thing everybody hates about this type of resin is the actual way you have to mix it. You gotta get it right to the gram on something this small. So the way I have it mixed, it's holding the shape. I'll put a little bit more in there. You really want it to hold its shape, but not be so dry that it won't stick to something. And I'm going to put it underneath this wing here. And I've got tape. I've got blue painter's tape here. And I might regret it. The tape will come off the wood, I know, but maybe the right way to do that would have been put packing tape that's clear and then wax it, put a release on the packing tape